and Good News from New England, 1624. A number of different men contributed to writing a relation which strung together detailed descriptions of various events. Sent back by ship and printed in London, it appeared without any authors named. G. Mort, who had not been in Plymouth, signed a preface written in London, and the little volume came to be known somewhat misleadingly as Mort's Relation. The 27-year-old Edward Winslow, who probably also contributed to a relation, penned and signed Good News. At the end of the decade, William Bradford began writing a history that is today known as Of Plymouth Plantation. When he first took up his pen, he described events only up until the time of the landing. Later, he returned to the project, continuing his account to chronicle life in Plymouth through its first 2 decades. Although it remained unpublished for centuries, Bradford's history informed the writings of others because the original handwritten document circulated. Bradford's manuscript was especially important for his nephew, Nathaniel Morton, who in his New England Memorial, published in 1669, spread information gleaned from Bradford to a wider audience. A century and more later, readers of these books pulled out particular stories of the signing of a governance agreement, of the meeting with Squanto, known more often in the original sources and therefore in later chapters here as Tisquantum, and of a multi-day fall gathering celebrating a first successful harvest. Yet these famous tales represent a selection out of long and detailed narratives that tell many stories. More than a century passed before the people of Plymouth began to promote their history as a significant founding moment. Interestingly, the rock, which is the only commemorative touchstone without any direct link to early writings, gained prominence first. In 1742, Plymouth residents, trying to determine the landing site, hit upon the rock with the assistance of an elderly inhabitant. Amid a rising interest in local history, Plymouth leaders in 1769 organized a Forefathers' Day. In addition to recreating the landing, the celebration included speeches, each of them extolling the importance of Plymouth. Over the decades that followed, these speeches, which were often published, contributed to the belief in Plymouth's significance. Invariably, speakers extolling Plymouth after the Revolution linked its early history to the eventual creation of the United States. In these accounts, the Mayflower Compact held a key role. The agreement was depicted as establishing democratic principles of broad participation and community cooperation. Save for the improbably placed rock, all the well-known Plymouth scenes emerged directly from writings penned by participants, which were selected for their edifying lessons and repeated regularly. Plymouth gained a place in our national mythology because 18th-century New Englanders, many of them descendants of the first colonists, sought to promote the region as the source of American values. Their efforts began even before the American Revolution, but expanded in the years after independence. Plymouth's advocates elevated it over other settlements in New England for a number of reasons. It was first, certainly, but Plymouth also escaped association with the worst of local history. Plymouth executed neither religious radicals, as the Massachusetts government did with 4 Quakers, nor witches, as the jurisdictions of both Massachusetts and Connecticut did, Massachusetts most infamously in Salem in 1692. Plymouth appealed because it could represent a heroic past in which valiant settlers faced and overcame their fears in a new land, and because it had no taint of religious intolerance. Those New England boosters who promoted Plymouth found in it a perfect foil for Virginia, with its story of Princess Pocahontas's rescue of John Smith. That southern colony had in fact been first among the 13 that initially formed the United States, and Virginians were promoting their own early history in a bid